All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. Today's topic is one of those things that feels almost too basic to even talk about. But then again, we got a ton of you asking for help with it. So here we are, ready to dive into the surprisingly complex world of household chores.
Yeah, you wouldn't think something like who takes out the trash would be a big deal, but
Hmm.
honestly, when I talk to couples in my practice, it's amazing how often this comes up as a source of tension.
Totally. And it's funny because when you really think about it, it's not really about the trash, right? It's about all those unspoken expectations and resentments that bubble up around those tasks.
Exactly. And that's where the insights from the research you sent over are so helpful. Like that UCLA study, for example, the one that talked about cleaning expectations. Just fascinating stuff.
Oh, yeah, that one was eye-opening. Basically, it was saying a lot of couples, they never actually define what clean means to them. They just sort of assume the other person has the same standards, which, spoiler alert, is usually not the case.
Right. I mean, think about it. We all grow up with different ideas
Yeah.
what's considered acceptable, right? Like maybe your parents were super strict about a spotless house, or maybe they were more laid back. And it was okay to have some clutter here and there.
So true. And then you bring those unspoken expectations into a relationship, and suddenly you're fighting about whose turn it is to empty the dishwasher. And it's like, hold on, we haven't even agreed on how clean the dishes actually need to be.
Absolutely. So tip number one from the research, and I love how practical this is to just have an honest, open conversation about cleaning expectations. What does clean actually look like for each of you in specific terms?
Yes. And that takes us right into the next point, which is where that chore chart idea comes in. It's not just about dividing up the tasks, it's about creating that shared understanding of who's responsible for what.
And I gotta say, from a therapist's perspective, that visual reminder can be a game changer. It takes all the guesswork out of it.
Seriously. No more of that passive aggressive, well, I did the dishes last time dance. It's like, boom, the chore chart says it's your turn, end of
Ye-
discussion.
Though it is important to add, it shouldn't be a source of like rigid control,
Mm.
you know. The research also talked about the importance of flexibility because let's face it, life happens.
Oh, 100%. In fact, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit this, but I once had this whole elaborate chore schedule, color coded, the whole nine yards. And then I had this crazy week at work and everything just went out the window. I mean, it was a disaster.
And that, my friend, is why flexibility is so important. We have to be able to adapt.
For sure. Okay. But you know what else makes a huge difference? Appreciation.
Oh, tell me about it. A little bit of gratitude goes a long way.
Right. Like if my partner just acknowledges that I cleaned the bathroom, even if it wasn't perfect, it makes me way more likely to want to do it again next time.
Because it's not just about the task itself, it's about feeling seen and appreciated for the effort.
Exactly. And that actually ties into the last point from the research, which is about compromising on standards.
Ah, yes, the art of good enough. Because listen, unless you have a live-in housekeeper, your house is never going to be perfectly clean all the time, and that's okay.
It really is. Sometimes a little bit of dust never hurt anyone. It's about finding that balance between having a reasonably tidy home and maintaining your sanity.
In your relationship.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, that's what this all boils down to, isn't it? Creating a loving and supportive partnership. And sometimes that means letting go of the need for a perfectly clean house.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's about choosing connection over perfection.
So, as you head out into the world, maybe after you finish this deep dive, I don't know, maybe you're folding laundry while you listen. Think about this. Where else in your life can you apply these principles? Where else can you be a little more flexible, a little more appreciative, a little more willing to compromise? Because chances are those same skills that can help you navigate those chore wars can also lead to a happier and more fulfilling life overall.